Well, now I want to turn to Steve Sherrill for what do you want to talk about? Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Tonight we're going to do kind of a little review of the O-Scale show from last weekend in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Being an all O-Scale show, we had ON30, Scale 2 rail, ON18, vendors. We had, I think, 7 or 8 micro layouts. It was a great time, and if I can get Craig to put up that picture, go ahead.
Yeah.
We had, if you add 2 more people who were not in the picture here, we had like 8 or 9 attendees who are presenters or have presented on new tracks. And so I think it's unusual to have that many people in one place who are new track presenters. And we had a lot of good conversations about new tracks. I had the opportunity to talk a lot to Tom. Got to know him a little bit. That was well worth a visit. And missing from this picture was Ben Poole and Bob Gelmacher. Bob Gelmacher was one of the new vendors who may or may not start a business. He is just trying to get a feel for what the people want. He's been on the show before, and he's a 3D printer expert. And so, Bob, I know you're right there. If you would just give me a little bit of what your impression of the show was, how you did, what you actually got from being a brand new vendor. So if you just give me a little input.
Sure. I was using this show and then the June ON or narrow gauge show in Harrisburg as kind of a springboard to see whether or not the ON30 cars that I'm producing, number one, have a market, and try to obtain a price point. So I sat right between Steve and Ryan Vigas, and Ryan's a good guy because what he's doing is I'm making these cars and he's putting them online, and we're getting an idea of how well they're going to be received. The things that I'm producing right now really came from conversations with Steve and then Steve Fisher down on the Eastern Shore, who is just got out of ON30 and going to 3/8. But there are different things, different cars, different pieces of rolling stock that it doesn't seem like there's anybody out there making these. And since I'm in ON30 and I realized that I could actually make these, I started off with the 24-foot Bachmann flat cars, and then I went to the 18-footers. And then in talking with Steve Sherrill in particular, we realized that there might be a market for even shorter cars. Now, I only Steve only asked me earlier. Matter of fact, there's my table, and again, we're just trying to see the market. Here's one of my 18-inch or a 12-inch, 12-foot shorty cars. They're about 3 inches long, and we're making them with selling them with wheels and couplers, and so they're ready to run. But as far as the show goes, one of the big things that I got out of it was I was able to meet and talk with some of the guys that you saw in that picture. I had a long conversation with Tom Farrell. I saw Greg and we talked. I met Martin for the first time, and it was interesting, and you get a different perspective about folks once you get a chance to actually talk with them. So I found that very interesting. And for Martin and Greg and Tom, thank you very much for the conversations. The show I didn't think was all that well attended. Matter of fact, probably by about noon, things really started to clear out. And by about 2 o'clock, I think everybody was breaking down. But it's a great opportunity to talk and find out what other modelers are doing. and also to kind of gauge the competition, because I know there are other people out there that are doing the same type of thing I am. So you find out whether or not they're successful, what kind of things they're making, and the kind of roadblocks that they run into in trying to market these products. So overall, I was very, very pleased, and I just spent the last couple of days kind of debriefing myself and saying, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we do better? And packaging up everything that I had for the next show in June. So we're ready to go. We've got about 75 pieces that are boxed, labeled, ready to go. And I'm looking forward to that show. But I was really happy to have the opportunity to be there, meet the guys, and see what the market will bear, to tell you the truth.
One of the experiences I had while exhibiting the micro layout, I had two of them there myself, but people would come up and they never realized that you didn't have to have a huge layout to enjoy building models and having a layout. They were amazed at how much you could really get in to an area 24 inches by 40. And I was actually trying to sell both my micros so I could make another one. And so I had a sign on there and it said for sale. And underneath that, it said, I rotate. And one guy didn't really know what that meant, so I had to demonstrate him. I don't know where he was going with that, but.
By the way, that's when Steve started just turning around in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, the micro layout is really a popular item that's displayed. I personally think it's much better than a big layout. Most people really understand, or they get to understand, that it doesn't take long to build. You can detail it as much as you want. It can be your permanent layout. It can be a stopgap until you build something else. It can be just a test bed. So that's what we try to show off with the micro layouts. I actually had to take 48 cars up there. A friend of mine sold all of his cars to Al Judy, and I had to take them up. And then Al sold a lot of them. I saw Martin. I didn't get a chance to talk to him too much, but I don't know if Martin found any real buys up there that we might see in the future presentations on new tracks. Only Martin knows that. So did you find anything new, Martin?
Nothing new. I got something old.
Yeah.
No, there was one person there who had a small mountain of vintage kits.
Oh,
You may I don't know if you saw them or not.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of which were names I have not seen very frequently or rarely, and one or two I regret not buying at one level, and also am pleased I restrained myself from buying, knowing the amount of kits I still have sitting here versus how much more work I want to buy. But I did get a Thomas brass tank car kit.
wow.
From him, which I was quite pleased to get my hands on, despite the fact that I recently announced to myself that I'm not building any more tank cars for a couple of years. But okay, never mind. That resolution went out the window, or by the wayside, or on the side of the road. Who knows? But a nice vintage kit for $20 is hard to turn down.
Martin, when you start one of these kits, like the one you did tonight, do you start it and go straight through until you finish?
Oh, God.
Take a whole day, or is it a week, or do you come back very often, or how do you spread out the build time on that? I mean, I know you can't do it and paint it the same day. That's probably not going to happen. You have to let it dry.
Oh, no.
But what's your experience as far as, I like to start it and finish it in one day.
Oh, I don't think I've ever done that. I can't maintain focus on anything that long. That's one of my problems. But I usually have 5 or 6 projects going simultaneously in my
Mhm.
shop. I have 4 cars and 1 structure going on right now. And I'll spend not much more than an hour or 2 at any one session.
Mhm.
Maybe 2 sessions a day, but and that's usually linked to how long the CD is. It's in the stereo. When the CD, it's time to change CDs, I say, well, that usually coincides with the fact that I've gotten every project up to a point where I'm waiting for glue to dry, or something like that, where I'm waiting for something to happen and I can't proceed. So it's a nice convergence of conditions, and also at that point my knees are tired of sitting there, and I'm tired of being in that room. So it's probably time to go back to my office, sit in a different chair, or and answer emails from my 7, 8, 9 email addresses, and see what other kind of trouble I'm in. It's back and forth. And then, like today, I got tired of everything and went out on the deck with a book and a cold drink, and just sat out in enjoyed the nice weather, and just said, I'm not going back in for an hour or 2. I don't like, I can't focus like I used to on building models. I mean, I used to do stuff, and I would forget what time it was, and I'd look up and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'd have to get up in 3.5 hours and go to work. And I don't do that anymore, but it's not that I sleep. I just can't focus. So I do 6 or 7 models.
Martin, when you go to shows like that,
yeah,
last weekend, do you have a list of things you're looking for? I mean, obviously you can't have a lifetime supply of those, of anything really. I mean, you never know how many cars you're going to build.
I have a pretty close to a lifetime supply of strip wood, actually.
Really?
Jack has seen my shop. He knows what's in there. It's kind of disturbing. I used to buy it. I was spending a couple of years literally buying it in bulk from Kapler. It's still, I've put a dent in it in the past 5 years, but it's not a big dent. No, I don't bring a list. I know what I'm looking for. That just there's a handful of little things. I desperately try to avoid buying anything, because I desperately need to sell stuff. I need the space.
Don't we all need to sell
stuff? I need the square footage back. So yeah, and the leftovers and the little stuff that's in the way and all the miscellaneous, I want it to go away. As I told just about everybody who bought something, it's like, who asked me, is this really the price? And I'm like, yes, I want it to go home with you, not with me. And they're like, oh, okay, I can help you with that.
Yeah, but the people have to be looking for it too.
Depends how persuasive you can be.
But what we can let them take it, get out of here,
Yeah, I did give one person a car rather than sell it to him.
Okay.
So here,
and we did have some really young modelers there who had been presenters here, who had a micro or small layout that they had built and ran it the whole time. And they always go to the clinics. They want to know everything. They'll ask, and I think a lot of the great modelers that attend these shows are helping these young kids. I think the oldest one's 14 or 15, and the next one's like 10 or 11. So we're looking for them to someday be, presenters or master model railroaders, or writing books, things like this, because they're really, the family is into railroading. They take them everywhere, and they're just really wonderful kids. So I didn't see too many other kids though that weren't being pushed on a stroller or held. It just wasn't that kind of a show.
No, I did spend some time with a modestly young couple who I think were just putting their toes in the water and trying to understand what they were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a fair amount of time explaining to them what the cars on my shelf, my display rack, these were old commercial products. These were kits. These were scratch builds, and they were very interested in understanding the hobby has that diversity within it, that not everybody's just buying stuff off the shelf. A lot of us are building stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they were and I know they went and spent a fair amount of time with Dave Vaughn over at O Scale Central,
Okay.
being regaled with other aspects of O Scale. So, so there were people with interest there that I don't think were really, like I said, they were just putting their toe in water.
Mhm.
So there were people who just showed up and thought, "Yeah, I'm going to go see what this is," because they had no idea what they're going in and seeing, and they were there for learning experience.
Yeah, I run into that a lot at Timonium, and also they don't understand, even older models who've been around a while, modelers don't really get the difference between. They don't understand that O scale is O scale, it's quarter inch, but O and 30 is but half as big as O standard, and they just don't understand that, and you have to show them physically, hey, this is this and this is that. Even though they're both, the same dimensional modeling, it's hard to grasp that concept. That so we try to educate them from day one. I think it's important that we take some of these new people who are confused and try to guide them somewhat into the better models, starting out the better engines, that you can buy used and you can buy good used, and it's okay to get you started. Now, I think this is important, and I think that as more experienced modelers, we need to take that time and assist these people and help them out. I think there's a real, I don't want to say obligation, but an opportunity to get these young people or newbies off to a good start in model railroading. If they get something and it doesn't work out, all of a sudden they're discouraged. They want, I'm going to go to racquetball or something. I mean that's what happens, and it's important that we give all the help we can.
Steve, I'll tell you, I agree with you about the young people. There were two young guys, and I think one of them was probably about 12, and the other one was maybe just a few years older.
Yeah.
But both of them had staff shirts on. And so I don't know whose kids they were, but I was really impressed with, number one, the way they talked, and number two, the knowledge that they seemed to have about model railroading.
Yeah.
Very, very beyond their age. I just really impressed.
Yeah, well, they've been around a while now. And one of them came up to me and he had scratch built something and had it battery powered.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he showed me, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, step back here. I wasn't that knowledgeable when I started out. I had to go in faith, and here this kid is already at 14 or 12 or whatever, and they're way ahead of me.
I also saw the one that was try to get a real bargain from you. He wanted to buy your one layout for $5. And
yeah, well, who knows? I maybe, what the heck? I'm done with it. I've enjoyed it. Everything's paid for on it. If I was to give it away tomorrow, it wouldn't make any difference. I just go build another one.
mm-hmm.
But anyway, it was a great show. It was a very nice meeting. All the new track presenters and modelers that were there, as as I could get to. Great talking to Tom. We spent a lot of time talking, not only about games but other stuff too. And that was very nice. I enjoyed that a lot, Tom.
Well, it was great to talk to you.
It's, I can't wait until Ian gets over here and we get to meet him personally. Um, everybody looks okay on camera, but we're all different when we get in front of each other. So I just had a great time. It's
That's
not always
wonderful.
about whether you sell stuff and make money and do all that. It's just, it's a camaraderie of the hobby. And as long as that we have that, we always have something, So anyway, that's about all I can talk about today, I guess.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm glad that you enjoyed the show. I'm glad it was a success, and happy for Al. He's going to be moving the show, he says now, from April till September.
Correct.
He's going to keep the June. He's going to keep the June show, but he feels that because there's so many shows late March, April time period, that his show is going to be better attended and better for everybody if he can move it later in the summer. And so he's going to move the April show to September and keep the June show where it is. So I wish him the best of luck in that. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I really appreciate, Steve, you taking the photos that you took of the people from New Tracks and your comments. Thank you so very much.